I think it's important to begin by just characterizing the book in a slightly more general way to start off with, because that's actually the key as to why this particular book might indeed be very relevant in the classroom context. It's been out a few months now, and a number of teachers have already written to us and told us how they are using it in the classroom, and Ben will talk about that in a little while.
Well, should we say what the book is, Dan? Because people might not know, I suppose. What we have here is a page for every day of the year, January through December, and one for February the 29th in case, well, for when the leap year comes around. And on every page, we have a different quote from Shakespeare for every day of the year. But they're not the sort of quotes from Shakespeare that you might be expecting. That's for sure.
Yes, that's right. So, we ask you now, which quotes of Shakespeare do you know? And of course, up will come things like to be or not to be, that is the question, or is this a dagger that I see before me? And quotes of that kind. Well, these are not particularly everyday in our view. I mean, there might be some of you out there who do see a dagger every day in front of you, but I think this is probably unlikely.
We've got other ones in the quote in the chat here, Dad. Tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, and a rose by any other name.
Yes.
And knock knock. Well done, Eliza, Claudia. That's very good. We don't include any of these quotes in our book.
That's right. Yeah, what we did, you see, Ben and I, was we went through the entire canon. We read all the plays and all the poems, and we looked out for quotations that have an everyday relevance, something that any ordinary person could relate to, something that they're doing in their lives, or some emotion that they're feeling, or something like that. And we'll give you some examples now of the sorts of quotations that are in the book. And you'll see immediately that, oh, yes, they relate to something that I do, or I have done, or my friends have done, and so on. Where should we start, Ben? Should we just pick a few out at more or less random?
Yeah, why not? Let's see. Well, Dad, why don't we pick? I would say one of the greatest rules for life that I found myself reaching for from Shakespeare quite a lot recently, actually, is one from Romeo and Juliet from Friar Lawrence, who says, "Wisely and slow they stumble that run fast." And I don't know about you all out there, but we would say perhaps in English today, more haste, less speed. In other words, if you do something really quickly and without care, you're more likely to break something or drop something or trip yourself over. And indeed, this is the advice that Friar Lawrence gives young Romeo as he's rushing around in great excitement, having fallen in love with Juliet. And so one of the quotes that we have in the very beginning of the book, which we feel is a great piece of life advice, is to take things wisely and slow, because they stumble that run fast.
Yes, very good. And one that always appeals to me, and I find myself using it all the time, and that's the thing about a lot of these quotations, you suddenly find yourself dropping them into your everyday conversation almost without thinking. It's this one. It's from Hamlet, and at the very beginning of the play, the soldiers are meeting on the top of the castle at Elsinore, and one soldier comes to the other, and the first man says, "For this relief, much thanks." Now, what he means is, thank you for relieving me from my soldierly duty. But in everyday life, how often have you been in the situation where you're doing something difficult, something that perhaps you really don't want to be doing, or that you're having some difficulty in doing, and then wonderfully, someone comes along and offers to help? Well, what do you say? Thank you very much. Now, you use a bit of Shakespeare, you see. For this relief, much thanks. Goes down very well, let me tell you.
And one of the quotes that Dad and I really enjoy talking about, mainly because we disagree so much about it, is this one. Better 3 hours too soon than a minute too late. Now, imagine, everyone out there, You are making your Christmas journey plans or your summer holiday plans or your school break plans, and you have to catch a train, or you have to leave in your car, or you have to catch an airplane, or even you're just meeting someone for a coffee. How early do you leave? And this is the great difference between Dad and I. You can put your answers in the chat if you like. Dad, if he's catching a train, will be at the train station early enough to catch the previous departure. He'll definitely be there 3 hours too soon.
Yeah, that's me. That's me.
However,
on the other hand, is completely opposite. He will arrive, well, 1 minute before the train leaves, if he's lucky. I'm surprised he catches trains.
Never 1 minute too late, but I am there always just in the nick of time. That is true.
Yeah. And as Ben says, you can apply that kind of quotation to almost any situation in the day where you have to meet up with someone or get to a certain appointment or whatever it might be. That's what we mean about applying these quotations to your own circumstances. It's that's the thing about Shakespeare. So many of the things that he says, you can adapt to your own situation, even if it means changing the quote a little bit. There's a lovely one that comes up, which is so obvious that it's hardly worth saying, except when he says it, it makes you think twice. He that sleeps feels not the toothache. He that sleeps feels not the toothache. That is so true. I mean, the quote is basically about, your worries. You don't worry when you're fast asleep. But notice, he that sleeps. Ooh, all the women out there, all the people with gender uncertainty out there, you can change that pronoun. You can say she that sleeps, we that sleep, they that sleep. Don't be scared to play with Shakespeare. Just as he played with the language, you can play with it as well.
Absolutely.